The silence that fell over the wedding reception was deafening. Every eye in the room turned toward the small girl standing beside her father, her innocent question hanging in the air like suspended crystal. What she had asked about age wasn't just unexpected, it was the kind of wisdom that makes adults question everything they thought they knew about life, love, and what truly matters. But to understand how we got here, how one child's simple question could change so many lives, we need to go back to the beginning. Hey there, viewers! If you're enjoying this story so far, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories that will touch your soul. Your support means everything to us. Michael Chen checked his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. The wedding invitation had specified 3 o'clock, and it was already 2:40. His fingers drummed nervously against the steering wheel as he glanced at the rearview mirror, catching sight of his apartment building where his 7-year-old daughter Lily was supposed to be ready 15 minutes ago. "Come on, sweetheart," he whispered under his breath. Ever since losing his wife Emma to cancer 2 years ago, patience had become both his greatest virtue and his daily struggle. Single parenthood wasn't something he had ever prepared for. The apartment door finally opened, and Michael's breath caught in his throat. Lily stepped out wearing the pale blue dress they had picked together, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun with a few loose curls framing her face, exactly how Emma used to wear hers. For a moment, the resemblance was so strong that Michael felt a familiar ache in his chest. "Sorry, Dad," Lily called as she carefully made her way down the stairs in her new shoes. "I couldn't get my hair right." Michael stepped out of the car to help her. "You look beautiful, Lilybug. Your mom would be so proud." Lily beamed at him, but he didn't miss the flicker of sadness in her eyes at the mention of Emma. "Do you think people will ask where my mom is?" she asked quietly as he helped her into the car. The question pierced Michael's heart. "Some might," he answered honestly. "But this is Uncle Jake's wedding. Most people there already know about Mom." Lily nodded solemnly. "I practiced what to say if they ask." "You did?" Michael fastened his seatbelt, stealing a glance at his daughter. "I'll say she's watching from heaven and would have loved the cake." Lily smiled, a small, brave smile that made Michael's heart swell and break simultaneously. "That's perfect," he managed, starting the car. "Absolutely perfect." Jake wasn't just Michael's best friend, they had been like brothers since college. When Emma was diagnosed, Jake had been there through every doctor's appointment, every treatment, every moment of hope and devastation. After Emma passed, Jake spent countless nights on Michael's couch, making sure his friend didn't drown in grief. Today, Jake was marrying Rebecca, a kindergarten teacher he'd met while volunteering at Lily's school. Michael was his best man, and Lily, to her immense pride, had been asked to be a junior bridesmaid. The ceremony venue was a renovated barn outside the city, draped with fairy lights and white flowers. As Michael and Lily arrived, guests were already finding their seats. "Mr. Chen," Rebecca called, rushing over in her pre-wedding robe. "And Miss Lily, my beautiful bridesmaid." Lily beamed, straightening her shoulders. "You look so grown up," Rebecca said, kneeling to Lily's level despite her fancy robe. "Are you ready for your important job?" "I practiced walking slowly every day this week," Lily said seriously. "Dad timed me." Rebecca laughed and squeezed Lily's hands. "You'll be perfect. Now, would you mind going to the bridal suite? My sister has your flower basket." After Lily scampered off, Rebecca turned to Michael, her expression softening. "How are you holding up? I know weddings can be tough." Michael appreciated that she didn't shy away from mentioning the obvious, that the last wedding he'd attended had been his own, with Emma radiant in white. "I'm okay. Happy for you both." Rebecca squeezed his arm. "Emma would have loved today." Michael nodded, unable to speak for a moment. "She would have been taking a million pictures by now." "Well," Rebecca said, pulling something from her pocket, "that's why I wanted to give you this early." She handed him a small gold locket. Inside was a tiny photo of Emma, her smile as bright as Michael remembered. "It's for Lily to wear today," Rebecca explained. "So Emma can be a part of things." Jake's idea. Michael closed his fingers around the locket, overwhelmed by the thoughtfulness. "Thank you," he whispered. The ceremony was everything a wedding should be, joyful, emotional, and filled with love. Michael stood tall beside Jake, focusing on his best man duties rather than the memories threatening to surface. Lily performed her role flawlessly, walking at exactly the right pace and beaming with pride when she took her place. It was during the reception that things began to shift. Michael noticed Lily becoming quieter, watching the dancing couples with an intensity that seemed beyond her years. When the mother-son dance was announced, Michael saw her slip away to the corner of the room. He found her sitting alone, fingering the locket around her neck. "Hey, Lily Bug. Not enjoying the party?" She looked up with eyes so like Emma's that it took his breath away. "I am. It's just." "Just what?" He sat beside her, loosening his tie. "Everyone keeps saying how I look like Mom." Michael nodded cautiously. "You do. Same beautiful eyes, same smile. But then they get sad," Lily observed. "And they say I'm growing up so fast. Mrs. Abernathy said I'm an old soul in a young body." "What does that mean?" Michael considered his answer carefully. "It means you sometimes seem to understand things that most kids your age don't." Lily was quiet for a moment, watching the celebration continue around them. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "How old is love?" Michael blinked. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Well," Lily began, her brow furrowed in concentration, "Uncle Jake is 34, and Miss Rebecca is 32, and they just found each other 2 years ago. But you and Mom found each other when you were in college. And Grandma and Grandpa were high school sweethearts. So I was wondering, how old does love have to be real?" Michael felt his throat tighten. "That's a big question." "Because," Lily continued, unaware of the profound nature of her inquiry, "if love has an age, then maybe the love you and Mom had wasn't finished growing yet. And maybe that's why it hurts so much. Because it was still a baby love that didn't get to grow up." It was at that moment that Michael had taken Lily's hand and led her back to the main reception area, where Jake was giving a toast. Something compelled him to speak up. "Jake, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Lily has something she'd like to ask everyone." Curious eyes turned toward them. Michael nodded encouragingly at his daughter. Lily's voice was clear but tentative. "I was wondering, how old is love? Does it have an age? Because if it does, then maybe we're measuring it wrong." The silence that fell over the wedding reception was deafening. Every eye in the room turned toward the small girl standing beside her father, her innocent question hanging in the air like suspended crystal. An elderly woman, Jake's grandmother, was the first to respond, her voice wavering with emotion. "Child, in my 92 years, that's the most profound question I've ever heard at a wedding." What followed was something Michael could never have anticipated. One by one, guests began sharing their thoughts. Rebecca's parents, married for 40 years, spoke about how their love felt different but no less real than when they first met. A newly engaged couple admitted their fear that their young love might not withstand time's test. Jake's divorced uncle reflected on how love can change form without diminishing in truth. Lily listened to each response with solemn attention, occasionally nodding as if confirming something she'd already suspected. When the sharing circled back to their table, Michael found himself speaking from a place he rarely accessed. "Love doesn't have an age, Lily," he said, aware that the entire reception was listening. "It has depths and dimensions. The love between your mom and me wasn't a baby love that didn't get to grow up, it was a love that packed a lifetime into the years we had." Rebecca, tears streaming down her face, added, "And love doesn't end when someone leaves us. It transforms." Jake raised his glass. "To love in all its ages and stages. And to Lily, who reminded us all what today is really about." The remainder of the reception took on a different quality, more reflective, more authentic. Strangers approached Michael and Lily throughout the evening, sharing stories of loves found and lost, of grief and recovery. As the night wound down, Michael found Lily asleep in a chair, the locket still clutched in her small hand. He gathered her into his arms, this child who somehow carried both the weight of premature wisdom and the lightness of innocent hope. "Your question changed everything tonight," he whispered as he carried her to the car. "You have no idea how many hearts you touched." In the weeks that followed, Michael noticed subtle shifts in their life together. Lily spoke more openly about Emma, asking questions and sharing memories without the cautious hesitation that had characterized earlier conversations. Michael found himself able to answer without the crushing pain that had previously accompanied any mention of his wife. One evening, as they looked through old photo albums, Lily pointed to their wedding picture. "Was your love brand new here?" Michael smiled. "Brand new in one way, but it had already been growing for years before this." "And now?" Lily asked, touching the image of her mother's face. Michael took a deep breath. "Now it's different. But still here." He placed his hand over his heart. "Love doesn't need a physical presence to keep existing." Lily nodded, satisfied with this answer in a way only children can be. "That's what I thought at the wedding. That's why I asked." "Your question helped a lot of people, Lilybug." "Including us?" Her eyes, so like Emma's, searched his face. "Especially us." 6 months later, Michael received an email from a woman who had been a guest at Jake and Rebecca's wedding, a friend of the bride he'd never personally met. She explained that Lily's question had inspired her to reach out to her estranged father after 15 years of silence. They were rebuilding their relationship, one careful conversation at a time. "Your daughter," she wrote, "made me realize that love doesn't expire. It waits. Sometimes patiently, sometimes not. But it waits for us to remember its ageless nature." Michael showed the email to Lily, who had recently celebrated her 8th birthday, her 3rd without Emma. "See what you did," he said proudly. "You helped heal someone's heart." Lily considered this with the seriousness that had become her hallmark. "Mom would have liked that, I think." "She would have loved it," Michael agreed. "And she would have been so proud of you." That night, as he tucked Lily into bed, she asked if they could visit Emma's grave that weekend. "I want to tell her about the wedding and the question and everything that happened after." Michael nodded, his heart full. "Of course we can." "And Dad?" Lily's voice was growing sleepy. "I think I know the answer now." "To what, sweetheart?" "Love isn't measured in years or days. It's measured in how it changes us. Her eyes drifted closed. That's why Mom's love is still growing, even though she's gone. Because we're still changing. Michael sat beside his daughter's bed long after she fell asleep, marveling at how this small person, this extraordinary combination of Emma and himself, continued to teach him about the very nature of love. In her innocent wisdom, Lily had discovered what many spend lifetimes seeking to understand, that love transcends all boundaries, even time itself. And in that knowledge, both father and daughter were finding their way forward, not moving on from Emma, but carrying her with them in a love that continued to evolve, to deepen, and to heal. When Michael finally rose to leave Lily's room, he whispered to the quiet darkness, "Thank you, Emma, for this remarkable gift you left us. She carries your light so beautifully." And somewhere, in ways that defied explanation but felt undeniably real, Michael sensed Emma's enduring presence, ageless, timeless, eternal. The question of age that had stunned a wedding reception became a touchstone for many. Jake and Rebecca incorporated it into their first anniversary celebration, asking guests to reflect on how their understanding of love had evolved over the year. Michael found himself speaking about it at a grief support group he'd finally found the courage to attend. Even Lily's teacher used it as the basis for a classroom discussion about emotions and relationships. What had begun as a child's innocent inquiry had blossomed into something profound, a reminder that wisdom can come from the most unexpected sources, and that sometimes the youngest among us see most clearly what truly matters. For Michael and Lily Chen, the journey continued. There were still difficult days, moments when Emma's absence felt unbearably acute. But increasingly, there were also days filled with laughter, with new traditions, with the gentle unfolding of a life reshaped by loss but not defined by it. And at the heart of their evolving story was a simple truth, discovered by a 7-year-old girl at a wedding reception: love has no age. It simply is, enduring, transforming, and infinitely precious in all its forms.